Well, gee, guys, I guess we're back. Hi, this is Red Spotlight. We're reacting to the Ahsoka show. Yay, on Disney Plus. Don't we love Star Wars? I'm Alexis Soto, joined by Alexis Moreno. That's the redhead one across the screen for me. And then also there is David Francisco, who is manning this operation and seeing how this goes. So far, as far as a tech standpoint is concerned, hey, we made it like I don't know how many weeks in, and here we are doing another reaction. And you know, for the handful of you that have been tuning in, I don't know what this does for you. I don't know what this does for us either. But we're here. We got nothing else better to do, I guess, and we seem to be
There's
glutton for
literally nothing
punishment.
else on.
Yeah. I mean, the strikes, right? The strikes.
Mm.
This was made before the fact, so I guess this is why. And yeah, like I was mentioning, we're glutton for punishment. Like we already feel like have had such negative reactions, maybe the most negative reactions to this show you'll find on the internet, and yet somehow we're back.
Yep.
We're just back, which is incredible. If you didn't catch on our takes on last week, we maybe spent all of 5 minutes talking about what happened in the actual episode, and the rest of the discussion was just like ranting on how most of the discussion was really just a rant on the collapse of democracy, which I mean is what happens when there's nothing really offered here on the show from a character standpoint or a story standpoint. So, and yet somehow, hey, there are people out there who are enjoying this show just fine. I envy you. I personally found myself to be in a place of just absolute. It's like the sunken place from Get Out. It's like you feel yourself just like that's what it's called, right? The sunken
about
place.
it until like.
I mean, yeah,
right now.
Because there's nothing worth remembering, and
Yeah.
whatever there is worth remembering is just upsetting.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have anything else to add, just for the sake of full disclosure. From what I understand, Alexis is aware of at least one spoiler, and she'll let us know if she.
I think I see it right now, but I don't know how I will react to it. I mean, I kind of reacted to it already. I didn't actually see it. I just kind of read it and saw what was read what was going on. But maybe seeing it will be different.
I mean, we can always hope, right? But then again, look how hopeful we were at the beginning of the first episode.
Literally every episode, I feel like we're like, yeah.
It's like, come on, just give us something. Give us something to move on.
And you know that I feel like that's like worth noting because we don't actually want it to be bad. Like we don't want to not enjoy this. You know, we start off hopeful for a reason because we want it to be good. We want to enjoy ourselves. And, you know, these are, again, as we mentioned so many times before, these are characters that we've loved for so long.
We love Clone Wars. We love Rebels. Honestly, we do, guys. We actually do. I know you wouldn't tell based on our negativity on this show and these characters, but I feel so far that we've been making a pretty good case for why it is we feel the way that we feel. So, hey, there is all of that.
I'm also sick, so I apologize if I'm coughing you.
I mean, this is when you watch happens when you watch Ahsoka, right? I mean, you were sick in a different way, I think, to be clear about that. Before we get into this, I feel like, and I think we already know the answer, but are they ever on this show going to address whether or not Sabine is a Force wielder or not? Or do you think the show is convinced somehow that so far it has presented a case for the idea that anybody can tap into the Force and become a Force wielder, in spite of the George Lucas doctrine, which was midichlorian count, midichlorian count, midichlorian count. You're born with a set number of cells in your midichlorians, and that determines if you have the ability to tap into the Force. Is this show basically doing away with that, or is that giving it too much credit?
I think that they believe that they have thoroughly explained what they're trying to say. And I don't know what that is.
I think they're trying to go for like a Rey moment, like in The Force Awakens, where you're just gonna be like, oh my gosh, she is a Force user, or like, you know, they want a moment like that where she does actually
think
like
that
grab.
she's not going to be. But then that also adds on to what I just said. I think that they fully believe that they've explained what they're trying to say in these last 3 episodes with Sabine.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Well, also last week's episode was even, well, honestly, maybe on some level that's the least of our concerns, right? Because there was an extended action scene last week, and that was one of the most boring, pathetic action sequences in all Star Wars.
Space.
But did she? Did she though? She just went out there in costume, waved it around like once or twice, and then was like, I'm good. And then she went back inside.
Yeah, she didn't actually take him down.
No. No, she didn't. So, anyway.
What did I miss?
Nothing. You missed nothing.
There
Why is there even a recap here?
Can we
There shouldn't be
skip
a
it?
recap for an episode. You can just say, oh, they went from this place to
It's
that
literally
place.
every single episode except the last one.
Yeah. This is how the episode should have been cut together. You know, it just moves a lot faster. And then this is something that people can do. Just wait till the last
that was
episode.
that one interesting scene from the last episode.
What interesting scene.
The Hera scene.
Oh, I forgot she was in the show.
A craft with these power levels that would be capable of a hyperspace jump of astonishing speed and distance.
I'll give it this. I am curious to see how that hyperspace ring actually works.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, I am curious to see what a new galaxy would look like. I don't know if I have any faith in these people to actually produce anything interesting, but I'm curious. You got me there.
Yeah. That's like, I feel like that's the thing. That there is something there. We just don't know what it is. And I feel like they're doing such a bad job at like keeping us hooked, explaining it, having us like follow what they're trying to say.
If we can't make the journey to find
The background
Ezra,
looks so bad.
Oh yeah, I just noticed it.
then no one should.
It looks like a
The volume.
it looks like, you know, in the Wizard of Oz. They're in the woods.
Better that than allowing Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
She said the thing. She said the thing. She said the title to the next movie, Heir to the Empire. Also, I mean, who could have predicted this cold, calculating creature would so easily put aside what happens to Ezra? Which I'm not even saying necessarily is inherently wrong, but like, can you at least put some fucking emotion into that? Like, can you at least show us that she would be somewhat guilty or a little bit more wrenched in like this bad decision? Look how
like,
stoned she is.
Yeah, even if she's like angry, like we understand that she fully went through like trauma, like we understand, but it doesn't, even if she's sad, if she's mad, if she's, you know, going through it, it doesn't show. Like it doesn't, she's not showing anything.
At every turn, she refuses to show any kind of emotion at all. This is somebody who saved her fucking life. And she's like, well,
What the
I
hell is
guess,
that?
you know, we have to like...
Ooh,
you
the
know,
robot.
And clicks.
Tell them to
I'm
move in.
obsessed with her. She looks so
The gods would
freaking
not
cool.
delay them long.
But you
This
will.
is the 4th episode, and aside from not knowing... Well, there's a lot of things we don't know. And one of the things we don't know is, what do these villains want?
Yeah. Fallen
Fallen
Jedi.
Why
Jedi.
are they doing any of this?
Fallen Jedi, guys.
See, the way this episode started, like the way before the title of the episode ended, you would think that this would be like a flashback episode if this was like a 22 episode series.
David. Fallen Jedi.
Okay.
Just keep watching. Just keep watching.
Okay. I don't know why. What made you think I would know that? I don't know.
He got it. Alexis got it.
You'll get it. It doesn't matter. Go ahead. Finish your point.
I mean, just saying, like, this. That was just a perfect transition to like do a flashback and know what the villain's story is and all that.
Okay, I see what you mean now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why you brought it up.
Worried.
Really? Couldn't tell.
Nope.
Are we having this conversation again?
Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal
And you
feelings.
just said that, but and not in any better way. This is the same delivery, the same tone.
Better not take it out.
Finally, some progress.
Yeesh. No! We're off to see the wizard.
The one that's
Ooh. Oh my gosh, this has already been
So
a
what
fight
is-
scene than anything else in the series.
was not expecting some droid on droid action.
That will
Yeah.
set me back a bit.
Oh, so we're stranded for the whole episode here. Great. That means we're not going anywhere. By the way, why doesn't Huang have a lightsaber? Shouldn't he?
No.
In my opinion.
Since like all he does is make lightsabers or help make lightsabers. Shouldn't he have one for combat?
Oh, very good.
She smiled.
I know.
That was there was an attempt.
Yeah.
We got an attempt at an emotion.
Yeah. And that was
Well,
supposed to be like a
well,
nice scene, but I don't
Yeah, but it
I
wasn't
didn't
at
feel
all.
anything.
Oh, we're back here. Why are we here with a bunch of useless fucking people who are just gonna let Nazis take over anyway? What the fuck are any of you doing there? I'm sorry, I'm just pissed at this point.
Well, when you're a general, you can disobey orders too. Until then, buckle up.
So she's disobeying orders. Okay. Well, if you were gonna do this anyway, could we not have had that phone call with Mon Mothma? That way she wouldn't seem like a big
Yep.
dumbass.
Make it more interesting.
Yeah.
You know, you're risking an awful lot by doing this.
Hey, it's that guy. He was
It's
a
that
Mandalorian.
guy. Yeah.
Oh, and she's taking the whole.
No, I think it's just those guys around her.
It's
Well-
like what, 6 X-wings?
Yeah, like that's a lot of people.
Mhm.
That's something.
Yeah.
They're all
that's
disobeying
something,
orders
honestly.
too.
It's ridiculous. What, Mon Mothma couldn't authorize 6 fucking X-wings?
I know.
And the ghost is her ship. She can do whatever she wants with that.
Mhm.
Like, what,
Yeah.
she couldn't lend 6 X-wings?
Yeah, out of that whole entire army that was there.
That was a massive fleet.
Yeah. And again, though, that was supposed to be a nice moment because we're like, oh my god, it's the guy he was in the Mandalorian. They're working together. Oh my god.
Been running this all time.
How does the song go? That wonderful yellow brick road. Do something.
I know, right?
Do something.
There could have been a lot more dialogue happening in that moment right there. Like, oh,
How mu-
like, I'm glad you're feeling better or something like that.
It was like, how many seconds of silence was that? Like, they were just standing around. It feels like we're at beyond parry at this point. It's like Rosario Dawson is trying to see how slow can I move and how
Mhm.
long can I milk this. How is this? And this is what really pisses me off. How is this any more interesting or exciting from a lightsaber wielding standpoint than what Rey did, than what Daisy Ridley did in those 3 movies. Yes, even in Skywalker. Why is Daisy Ridley and why is Rey so fucking dismissed for all the contributions she made to the universe, and yet somehow this pale imitation of Ahsoka is like, we pray at the altar of, like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's just like,
at least there was like some thought into the way that Rey was fighting.
at least there was movement.
Yeah.
This feels like I'm watching like a stop motion recording of like, okay, and then pause. You see? It's like, let's go extra slow.
This one's a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. At least with
Easily.
theirs is just more interesting because like they've already fought before, and it's like, okay, there's a chance that she could lose. This one though, between Ahsoka and this guy here,
helicopters.
And it's over.
that's how it
And
should have
it's
went.
over.
That's how it should have went
Yeah.
from the beginning.
But it shouldn't have lasted that long anyway. It should have been like instant. It should have been Obi-Wan and Maul.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3, boom, you're done. What the fuck? Did something interesting happen?
I know.
All right.
That was surprising.
And no reaction from Ahsoka. Where was she just? Did she see what happened?
I guess.
She was looking the other way.
I know. She was. She wasn't even looking at him. Oh my god.
Again, why are you standing, girls? Come on, let's go. We got 41 minutes. But what the fuck was that like? Okay, I'm just gonna take a guess. That was like Night Sister
Witchcraft.
magic.
Yeah.
Honestly. It has
'cause
to be, right?
That's what happened when Savage Opress got killed by Palpatine in the Clone Wars. Like, he went back to the way that he was. I'm guessing. You know, it's actually, I don't know, sad. This really just feels like the ending of last week's episode. This should have been in last week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is just they cut off the ending and made it its own episode.
Okay, see what sucks about this scene is that nothing led to the fight. Like we just, like it's just no.
We
they're
don't
gonna
know
fight.
what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even know who Balon is.
Yeah, like this should have been like a conversation of why are you doing this? It's like, yeah, I want a war. It's like, why do you want a war? Blah blah blah, something like that. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, most of that was answered and all that. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like they could have done more to lead up to this fight. Like, oh, okay, yeah, we do have to fight each other. And this one, do we?
And why is she fighting with only one saber? Just more of a classic Jedi look? Is that why she's only got the one saber now?
Maybe. But I think she's done that in the show. Like, she uses one lightsaber sometimes. But only when things happen.
Oh, yeah, this is happening still.
Oh, God. Is she gonna use the Force?
They're in a forest.
This is literally, just like I said, it's gonna be like a Rey moment.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Okay.
That was cool.
That was funny.
That was
really
good. That was something.
She said, "Fight." That does absolutely nothing. Because the show is called Ahsoka.
It didn't even look convincing. It's like she just like fell on cue. Okay, this is the part where I fall off a cliff.
So that was to get
Coordinates.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that conversation was actually kind of interesting with Sabine and the villain guy and all that, because it was kind of like, is she gonna give it to him, or because like if she doesn't, how else are they gonna find Ezra and all that? Like there was some tension going on in there, so that was pretty cool. I'm mostly just glad that he didn't actually try to kill her afterwards. So at least that's good. Is this fight gonna be like more interesting than last episodes? Is it even gonna be a fight actually?
Not in space. This set looks cool.
It's a good set.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're reaching.
Wow.
Wow. Oh my god.
I knew it the
Dude.
minute I saw it.
Oh,
I was like,
fucking A. There's no... How?
That's why people. Yeah. Okay. She's back there.
Was it Ezra or something? Like, did he find another one and
Nope.
they pulled her out as soon as she fell?
Again.
You'll see.
Hello, Snips.
Oh yeah, now they use de-aging.
Ugh, he looks kind of weird.
That's the de-aging.
I guess. Okay, so a couple of things. For one thing, I'm hoping it's not the actual, what is it, World Between Worlds place, and I think maybe it's just she's just fainted and that's her subconscious.
I don't think so.
I think it is just because I don't know how the fuck did she get there. That's the one
I
thing.
mean, how did she always get there? But I don't think it is, because I think that they would go as far as to do something like that in this show. Which is like, it's annoying, but it's also like, I like when they do this type of stuff, especially with Ahsoka, because she's somebody like so in tune with the Force and like is so open to it and open to like learning more about it and stuff. So I like that. I'm just like, what are they trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it just for her to wake up? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to just be that, because it's such like it's such a special thing that we see her doing that it would be really annoying if it's just to get Anakin in the show and just for her to wake up.
Mm-hmm. Probably. Also, the other reason why I don't think it's the World Between Worlds is just because it doesn't look like it. I know there's that path and all, but there was also like a bunch of other paths around them, other portals opening up. So that's why I don't think it's that. I think it's just her subconscious. And this one, so we've been mentioning like in the past episodes that like we're not seeing a struggle here. We're not seeing like what is it exactly that she's going through in this moment. And this is part of the reason why this next episode with this scene is just not gonna work, because like what's their conversation gonna be about? You know, I definitely see like maybe she does blame herself a bit for leaving, that maybe her leaving caused him to go to the dark side. That can be a good conversation, and we better get some fucking emotion coming out of her. Okay, there better see some kind of tears coming out from this conversation. I'm gonna be so pissed if she's just like the same throughout that entire conversation. That would be insane if you don't tell her go nuts, you know. And then also, but other than that though, I don't know what else of a conversation they'll have of like, you know, I thought
maybe he'll ask her, what are you trying to do?
I hope so. Oh my god.
What is your end goal here?
Yeah, I know it's just gonna. I'm guessing is the beginning part's gonna be it's my fault that you went bad, and all. It's like no, I went bad because blah blah blah, and then he's gonna go you know, I thought I didn't need an apprentice, but I'm glad I had you in my life, and then that's gonna be her going like, I'm not gonna give up on Sabine even though she just betrayed me.
It's literally not gonna be any of that. It's gonna be Luke and Yoda in The Last Jedi, which was not a bad conversation, but you know, they don't ask these questions in that conversation. They don't ask like, why are you here? What, you know, like it's gonna be some type of wisdom where like they're not gonna go into detail about their relationship and stuff like that. Like that's just not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this was literally just for the sake of bringing in Anakin, which I don't like, because they keep doing this. They brought Luke just for the sake of bringing Luke, you know.
Mm-hmm.
At least in Obi-Wan with Leia, we got to see a different version of Leia. We got to see, you know, her becoming or on her way to becoming the Leia that we know.
Mm-hmm.
And they used like a legitimate reason as to why she's in this story.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
and they answered something. They answered, why, she knew of Obi-Wan. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And right here, I feel like everything that you just said, yes, obviously, we would want to see, but I don't think that we're gonna get at all.
Yeah. And I mean, this could have come naturally too. Again, if this was like a 22 episode series, like this would have happened eventually. Especially if this was animated, like it would have happened. But we're moving too fast, but also way too fucking slow in this story to get to this moment. It's like this is too soon, but also there isn't enough things that happen in the show to like lead up to this.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it sucks. And then also I brought up the conversation between Ahsoka and that villain guy and all that. The big because I was trying to like explain like why it was so bad and all that. Like really the big explanation is just because they were moving too fast with the dialogue, but again, they weren't moving fast enough. Like they were just delivering it super super slowly. It was just, yeah, I'm here because I want to destroy stuff and build something new and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, then they both just bring out lightsabers, and then that's part of the conversation. There was nothing leading up to like him why. There was nothing leading up as to why he wanted to do the things that he's doing, and there's also just not a lead up for her to want to like really fight him. If that made any sense.
It did.
What you said made sense.
Okay.
In that the show didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to explain what was going on there.
Yeah. Again, I don't understand. It's just like, if you're doing a show called Ahsoka,
Shit.
I don't understand why we're telling this specific story. Like, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, the fact that she's so in tune with the Force and how deep her connection to the Force is and how open she is to it, that's what I want to see. That's what I would have wanted more, because it also answers the time that we didn't see her, because even right now, like, okay, we got this moment, but people are saying that she's gone through trauma, whatever. Yes, how about you do something with her attachment to the Force and how she's reacting to things, how things are now, and how she deals with the trauma with some type of like with the Force or something. Like, that's more interesting than what's happening here. It's just it's so crazy that the only other person I can think of that is in like the Uncle Iroh level of like using the Force is Yoda. And I feel, at least like throughout the movies, I feel like we got so little of him and how, and his connection to the Force. But now you have a character where you can kind of, we've seen her from the beginning and her relationship with the Force. And why aren't you like expanding on that? It just, I think it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. No.
Like it's part of the reason why like she left. And why she has this like conflict with herself of, is she a Jedi? Is she not a Jedi? Again, why aren't we bringing this conversation up? Like, instead of her just saying, I'm no Jedi. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Ahsoka is just the perfect mold of all the past characters. Like, she is the best parts of every other character. Yoda, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, even, and all that. And like, how interesting of a conversation would it have been had she met Luke when she first met Luke? Because Luke isn't, I wouldn't say he's like the best parts of Anakin and Yoda, because I feel like they got kind of the worst parts, or like he was in the worst parts of them, where they thought that they needed to isolate themselves from the war and all that, blah blah blah. And so,
like it turned into that. But then he kind of had like this, like, moment of like, oh shit, like this is what they were trying to prevent. And I kind of went back to that. Like, that's another interesting conversation. And then to have Ahsoka be part of that story and say like, hey, I get why you're doing this. I understand because I've gone through it too. But there's more to it. And you don't necessarily have to follow every little thing. You know, but then still leading up to what Luke became, like, that's interesting.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if people would have noticed, but I had like this shocked look on my face. And I was looking down, and it was because I saw Alexis's message on the group chat. Grace Randolph. Yep, that's some Spider-Verse directing right there.
Here's the thing. There's a lot to be said. So strap yourselves in, guys. There's a lot to say here. First of all, I don't know. Similarly to how I feel, even though I think I think I'm more sympathetic now than I was in the beginning about these people that bitch online about like the runtime of certain episodes. Like, give me a fucking break. Like, I feel like there are bigger issues to cry over than that, and I don't think the runtime and how many minutes or how long or not something is any bearing on the quality of what we're gonna get. So I've always felt that to be irrelevant. Although, considering the budget and considering these shows, yes, it is something of an odd, like something odd that a lot of the Star Wars shows, especially, are like only half an hour long. So okay, I'll give you that. But what I meant to get to was the point of the directors. This is television. And in television, the directors are not the top people. The top people are the writers. The top people are the showrunners. So again, like I mentioned in a few episodes ago, Dave Filoni alone did not create and do everything in Clone Wars and Rebels, not even close. And now I'm not talking about the technical stuff. Even in the writing department, there were writers' rooms and there were episodic directors and executive producers of all sorts from all backgrounds that contributed collectively. And what we had in those shows was all of those visions coming together. Well, I say this because people put too much importance on getting a name director, especially in the streaming era. We've made a big deal of like, let's get this movie director to come in here and direct this episode of TV, but all they do is hold the camera.
Yeah.
In the realm of TV, which, you know what, that I'm not for nothing. That counts for a lot. And especially with these shows, we've been needing better direction. I get you, but they don't get it in your heads that they're coming in here and they're contributing. Yeah, they're not contributing to the overall vision. They're just there to carry out the vision of the showrunners and the writers. It's the opposite than it is in the film world. And people don't. That's why I like. Okay, yeah, Peter Ramsey directed this, and I'm happy for him. But again, Peter Ramsey comes from a world of a superior medium. Peter Ramsey is one of the directors of Into the Spider-Verse. Or Across the Spider-Verse, or both. I don't recall which one it was, but he's been working on the Spider-Verse films, and I mean the quality there speaks for itself. I mean, I'm not even gonna. I mean, hey, by the way,
part of that.
Today it came out on 4K. By the way, I'm free advertising or whatever, but this is an amazing movie. Go out and buy it, Across the Spider-Verse. Right now, I wish you were watching this. I wish you were watching this instead right now. But the thing is, okay, Peter Ramsey, fine. Everybody wants a shot at live action, I guess, because we have this really misconception that's very popular, unfortunately, that
it's
somehow
actually
live
more
action.
upsetting that he directed it, considering.
Well, considering that he's done better stuff here. And look, there were some things in this episode that, kept our interest as far as like what was presented to us visually. So I'm not going to knock him for that. But yeah, I thought you were going to go on and read what she ended up saying afterward.
Oh, yeah.
In that tweet. Did you end up reading what she said afterward? Read that.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's the part where I was like, give me a fucking break.
Oh, yeah. So it says, yep, that's some Spider-Verse directing right there. Ahsoka episode 4 finally reaches Game of Thrones levels. What the fuck?
Stop it right now.
That's why I told you to keep reading.
Oh,
that
my
is
God.
Such an insult. I would be offended if I was in Game of Thrones.
First of all, so I was watching the episode on my phone, so I don't know about you guys, but like, I could barely see anything in that episode.
Well, Alexis wasn't like, I don't know, saying that the forest looked awful.
Yeah,
it looked so
the
bad.
forest looked awful. It's like, again, we'd seen better stuff out of the Wizard of Oz. Like the actual sets out of which were amazing sets.
Wizard of Oz, but I feel like I felt bad after saying that.
Speaking of things I would have rather seen than this, the Wizard of Oz. I know, and we've been to the Academy Museum, and the Wizard of Oz has some great stuff in that museum. So go check that out if you've been to it, or if you've not, go and see it itself. But no, I mean, extended you to the volume, and even if it wasn't, it looked crappy. And it looked, of course, poorly lit. So again, as far as a visual standpoint, I guess that shot of the Rebel fleet didn't look half bad. It looked kind of out of the original movie, so I appreciated that. Maybe it's just me, but I'm getting more and more used to the look of Hera in the live action realm, and I'm liking that look more than I am Ahsoka. Now, again, I don't know if it's just the costume or and makeup, or if it's just more that I just cannot stand Rosario Dawson, whereas. Who is it that's playing Hera in this show?
Ramona Flowers.
I feel like she was the one that was giving me the least in the trailers, and somehow in these 4 episodes, she's kind of won me around. Where I think I can see her as Hera. She feels like Hera, and she sounds like Hera, and she acts like Hera, and she's doing all the things Hera would do. And I'm happy, at the very least. She took agency back into her own hands as something Hera would do on the Rebel show, and was like, okay, Mon, whatever, cool girl, I'm going to go and help them. Fuck you.
I would just...
Yeah. So I was happy to see that. Again, just going over the positives here. The set that the Night Sister and the bad guys are on, that was a cool set. And it was actually pretty interesting how they were winding up the hyperspace ring, and then there was a countdown and shit, and it was like, all right. I don't
think I've ever seen a yellow ship in Star Wars or gold.
No, not like that.
So that was interesting. I really like that.
Yeah, it's different, and we have to, it seems like a trivial thing, but we got to actually give points for differentiation, because if you look at what J.J. Abrams, again, as Peter would always say, not a single creative bone in his body. If you look at J.J. Abrams' Star Wars movies, it's literally the exact same aesthetic regurgitated all over again. It's the same planets, the same locations, the same sets, the same costumes. Just like, oh, here's a different twist on it.
I do wish that they would have at least like gone to what's the planet?
Dathomir?
Yes.
The planet of the witches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also wish too, but at the same time, speaking of things they've never really made that good of a case communicating across, is what the current state of things are. We know that the Night Sisters were wiped out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when we saw that happen, I don't know if it was just you guys. I thought it was just a single clan that was left. That was wiped out, and yet throughout the games, now with this, we keep seeing these survivors pop up left and right, and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, enough of you survived. Why not start the clan over again if that was the case? So no one there has any interest in telling that story, so they're using these Night Sisters and other stories because they're cool. They're cool characters. They have a cool aesthetic. They're witches, and so that's why I assume that keeps coming up. So the set was nice. Balon is proving to be the only interesting part of the show. And not to say that Shin, is that her name? Shin?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't devoid of anything interesting, but clearly if you watch this episode, you forgot she was even there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad how there was a whole side lightsaber fight happening that was far more interesting, and yet we move away from it.
Forgot about it.
And it's like, oh yeah, this is happening, which that's not great. But Balon is an interesting one, if only because of the things that he says.
Yeah.
You know, there was a sense of honor to him, and he is a man of his word. And I too was surprised that he did not just kill Sabine then and there. And so again, there's something there you can work with. But again, we're 4 episodes in, and at no point through the writing
know much about.
No.
How did he know about Darth Vader?
How did he know about Ahsoka? How did he know that Sabine was Ahsoka's apprentice? How does he know so much about everything? Like, what is he? Are they Dark Jedi? Are they mercenaries? Were they Inquisitors and then they left that, but then they still work with Inquisitors and then remnants of the old Empire?
We're halfway through the show and we have so many questions,
and the
nothing has been answered.
And the thing is, what he was saying here was so cryptic. Okay, he doesn't want to start another war, but he is helping the witch get to Thrawn, which he then says himself will start another war.
Yeah,
which makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he means.
It's so bad. The writing is horrible. It's so bad.
And that's how you could have gone the conversation. Like, she could have asked, "Why are you doing this?" And he says, I can't even think of an answer for it because I don't know much about it. Or
she could have just been, "Who are you?"
For real though.
What are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, what were you in the Jedi Order? Like, I never saw you during the war, like during the Clone Wars. You know, who are you? And he's just like, "Oh, I've been to this fight."
When he brought up Anakin, how do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been my first question.
Yeah.
And again, well, this is one of the bigger issues. But I mean, if Anakin is brought up, you'd think that she'd get a little bit angry.
Yeah. Yes. That too. There was something else in that scene that I was like, what?
Well, there were a lot of other things in that scene that were like, yeah. I mean, so I'm trying to think of any other positives that we have here. The ships smacking against each other was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that was really cool. I love the damage they caused, and
I was kind of like, whoa, that was pretty vicious.
Yeah,
that was cool. It's technically a negative. It can also count as a positive. But for me, it's a bigger negative because it seemed like a waste of time to even have it be this long. That other Inquisitor Merrick, what Ahsoka did to him here is what she should have done to him 2 episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And even then, it still was dragged out too long because lightsabers are cool, I guess. Again, like we were saying in real time, what Ahsoka should have done to him was exactly what Obi-Wan did to Maul in Rebels. 1, 2, 3, done. You're gone.
Yep.
But even just the execution of that scene alone was just so many levels of like, are you kidding me? First of all, it took way too long. And second of all, they seem to be insistent. Either Rosario Dawson does not care to change her choreography, or the choreographers are working with what she can do. I understand actors' limitations. I don't know what her limitations are. Sure, fine, but it doesn't ring true when literally every action lightsaber fight that she's in is so obviously slowed down to a point where it's like, can we move this along? You know?
There was a moment where she like jumps on a rock, and the thing that immediately came to my head is that Office episode when they're doing parkour.
Yeah, I bet it did. I bet. And I've seen that episode too. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, because it's not that impressive, right? I think it thinks that it's kind of impressive, but it actually really isn't at all. And then, so it's just so super slow and dragged out. And then when she finally just like, does him in, this literal fucking spirit or like fumes like fly out of him.
Yeah.
And no reaction. No reaction.
First of all,
that goes nowhere in this episode.
Like, I think Sabine had a reaction,
Did she?
And Ahsoka was looking away, so she didn't know.
Did they tell her that she's supposed to
They just
react?
tell her go, and then that's it.
I feel like
Nothing happened.
if I were on the set, I would be like, did she forget her lines? Did she forget her cue? Because she looked so confused. Like she was like looking away while this like really weird witchy thing was going on behind her, and she was just like, it doesn't even acknowledge it. She may not have even seen it. I think she's just like, whatever, nothing. And then the Sabine Shin stuff, from a lightsaber standpoint and from I guess an action standpoint, that was more interesting. David, you were right. Even the droid on droid robot was more interesting. But the reason why there was any level of interest in the other in Sabine and Shin was because they had previously engaged each other in combat, and this was kind of like a rematch situation. And then the show decides it's an afterthought, and I don't even remember it at all.
Yeah,
I already forgot that it even happened. So, okay. What other positives? I like it when green lightsabers and red lightsabers clash. I don't know if that's a positive or
just a preference.
Oh, wait. I couldn't hear you, Alexis. What were you saying?
Yeah, your mic cut off a little bit.
Oh, how about now?
Okay, yeah, we can hear you.
Good. That was weird.
Sorry. Or being accompanied by some kind of spirit here or something.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, it's the spirit from the episode. This is where it ended up leading to, because it ended up never being addressed whatsoever.
Yeah. Oh, well, still positives. I have no idea. Should we go to the negatives?
Okay. I think we got kind of all of our negatives. I don't know.
Well, there was one thing that I was like, I didn't like. I mean, there was a lot of things, but this one, I said it while we were watching it. But when he tells Sabine, you think Ezra's like your only family member left.
Oh yeah, you know what? That was something. You know what? Hold on. There were a lot of. It irked me too, but so here's the thing. For the last few years now, well, not few years, but it's first 15 years. But in the age of Disney Plus, you could definitely say that Lucasfilm Animation has been bolstered by the Return of the Clone Wars, and then they've also done Bad Batch and Tales of the Jedi. Cool. In addition to Tales of the Jedi, they also used to have, granted it was geared more towards children, but they were cool. Forces of Destiny, that was nice. I don't understand why, considering the point in which we jump into the timeline of this show, I don't get what would have been so hard and why nobody had the thought to just say this. Why not, since we've got all these other shows that are in the pipeline and that are popular, why not just do it? Didn't even need to be like a multi-season show. I mean, it could, but just say like, hey, here's Ahsoka, Sabine, Master and Apprentice. Maybe there's an interesting story there. I don't like the idea of making her a Jedi, but maybe there's an interesting story. And at the very least, you could have provided a context by having done that, having addressed that relationship and that story in the first place, So yeah. I don't use the tools that you have at your disposal to help you. But even then, I don't know if it would have made this show any better, but that's something else. But you were saying about Sabine's family. Well, what I understand here is it's related to what I was saying, because it's yet another missing piece of the puzzle. Because the last time we saw Sabine's family, I think her mother's name was Ursa. So it was her mother, her father, and her brother. The last we saw them were in the first 2 episodes of the last season of Rebels. And it was the beginning of them trying to recapture Mandalore. And then that's when Sabine handed off the Darksaber to Bo-Katan. Now, what we have come to learn in the Mandalorian TV show was that somewhere after that and before the beginning of Mandalorian, during I don't know if this occurred previously to A New Hope, during the Civil War itself in Star Wars, but basically, the Empire went full freaking Oppenheimer on Mandalore. Speaking of topical, they literally just like they dropped these bombs, and the whole civilization was wiped out. If you see Mando season 3, you would see there literally was it was like Planet of the Apes level of destruction. There's like nothing left of that civilization, and from what was seemingly confirmed by Balon there was that Sabine lost her mom, her dad, and her brother.
Mm.
Which
so this was after Ezra disappeared.
Yes, because at that point they were still living. At that point, when the events of the Lothal, the Battle of Lothal, were happening at the end of Rebels season 4, Bo-Katan still had the Darksaber. She was still charging the Mandalorians to a rebellion of their own. And unfortunately for them, it did not end up going the way that they thought they would. It didn't go in their favor.
So that still doesn't make sense, though. Because if Ezra went missing before her actual family passed away.
Right. I think what happened was this. Though I think that how it makes sense to me is when he flew away, of course, she still had her Rebels family, but it seems like Sabine was tasked to remain on Lothal as a marshal of sorts, while everybody else continued to fight on, for the most part, in the rebellion. At the same time, her Mando family was on Mandalorian trying to take back the planet. And I think what ended up happening is she wasn't around when her family was killed. And at that point, Ezra was already gone. Her own Rebels family had left her. And again, there's an interesting story to there to tell. It's like, she's been lonely for a long time, which maybe
she's also gone through it.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to know and get it cleared up.
And I'm thinking that all those things combined really primed her to be able to open up to Ahsoka and them having a relationship of sorts because,
which
of
again,
all the
would
loss.
have been nice to...
That's the problem is we're watching the wrong story. Or I guess we're in the wrong stage of it. It's like, again, when we first talked about this in the first episode's reaction, it feels like we missed a whole show. A whole show of development. And a lot of the problems that we have, maybe we wouldn't be having if it wasn't for any attempt at all to tell that story and hear it yet. And how do we know any of this? Like we're left with just trying in our minds to put the pieces together, the missing gaps in time.
Imagine people who had not seen anything before this. That is insane. That is an insane amount of information that is not around. But going back to that comment, it irked me because I feel like Hera would have 100% been there for
Sabine. Yeah,
like she also lost somebody important to her.
Yeah,
and to like, I think what bothers me is like her fixation on trying to get Ezra back. Like I understand, but I feel like so much time has passed and so much has happened between Ezra disappearing to now and her being so like, this needs to happen. Like it doesn't make sense to me. And then that comment just kind of like, no, like it doesn't add up, at least for me.
No, I feel you. And even if, let's say it was for some people, they're sure as hell not doing a good enough job of convincing us to feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, this moment of her just like basically letting the bad guys win is a moment that really only could have worked deeper into the show's run, not like in episode 4 of this. So it was like an attempt at something that on paper you should have known wasn't going to work, considering you've put in no effort at all into building out and fleshing out these characters. Or at least giving us the information that is needed to believe that moment. So there's that. But again, it just goes back to not one but two conversations that Ahsoka had with Sabine in the beginning of the episode, which I guess we know that they were there more so for use of foreshadowing than for anything else. But then therein lies yet another problem, which is the way that Ahsoka is in these shows. It's like, again, girl, where did you go wrong? Look, the rationale that she comes to isn't necessarily wrong, but it's less about that and more about the way that she goes about things. I get that was the conclusion she made. It makes sense. But could you at least show some emotion in that? If not for Ezra, who, yeah, you barely had a relationship with him, but you've had one, or at least you're trying to convince us that you had one with Sabine. You know how she is. Could you not, at the very least, put on some fucking emotion to win her over and get her to understand? You know, use language that she would be receptive towards. But
like, I feel like this situation for her is very much life and death. It does not feel like that. Be desperate. Be like, be angry. Show something. Just show something.
Yeah. So that part still irked me. And then there's just like a number of weird things that just continue to happen. And maybe more so this episode, which is really saying something, than the other episodes. I just like, as we're beginning to, well, not even, it's not even like exclusive to fight scenes. It's just that a lot of the scenes, or it almost even feels like every scene in this show, it takes a long time for it to start. It feels like with every single scene, it's like we're transitioning back from a commercial break and all the actors are standing in place and everyone's just waiting for a hand signal from the director to get started, to get the scene started, and it happens the whole time. The only time that didn't happen was like when Hera was doing things, since that was a quick scene, but everybody else, they're just standing around waiting for a cue. And even when they ignite their lightsabers, they're just standing around looking at each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking too long. Like it doesn't need to be like this, and you serve no purpose delaying it. All it does is show us that you think this is cool, or you think that this is doing something thematically, but it's doing none of those things, and it's just making your audience more impatient than it needs to be. Also, what happened in that fight with Balon and Ahsoka? Because again, speaking of things that were executed so badly, I don't know. It looked like to me that Balon was like, he slashed with his lightsaber a rock, and it's like Rosario Dawson, Mr. Q, and somebody yelled in her ear, "This is where you fall off the cliff." And then she's like, "Oh yeah," and then she falls off. Because I don't get what happened there. Did you see what happened in that moment?
Yeah. Again, that whole thing was just to bring in that ending scene. I honestly feel like there's absolutely no purpose to that. There's not going to be anything added on by bringing this whole thing in.
I'm not even there yet. I'm just talking about like visually what was presented there.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
there was
these lightsaber fights, man.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
They're really bad.
Even like just as like obviously, like, we're gonna compare it to the animation lightsaber fights because that's where this comes from, unfortunately for them. But okay, we're not gonna do that.
No,
let's compare it to other live
we shouldn't, because you know what, animation is a superior medium. It's not fair to compare live action of all things, this particular piece of live action, to the greatness that was the animated lightsaber fights in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Now let's compare this to other lightsaber fights.
Yes, please.
Ugh, this is so bad, and this is coming from one of the best supposedly the best, lightsaber wielder, and this is horrible. This is so bad. How are you gonna make the side fight better than the Ahsoka fight? That doesn't make any sense.
And again, it goes back to me feeling like either, well, I guess my main thing is I feel like we can never really see eye to eye with like most Star Wars fans, right? Because look at how they treated the sequel trilogy, how they continue to dismiss and treat the sequel trilogy. I don't know about you, but like when a lightsaber showed up in those films, it fucking meant something, and you felt it, and it more often than not, was pretty fucking epic. Mm-hmm. As far as how it was visually presented, and then also from sound design here, and yes, also in terms of choreography. Okay, I do not understand where it is that we're living in a place and time where if you talk to most fan circles, they would prop up Rosario Dawson as like an action superstar. And then Rey would be like, she sucks.
No.
I don't know. No, this has to be as bad as it gets. When you're lighting lightsabers every episode, and you continually miss the mark, even
especially like in this point in time, like the lightsabers are supposed to mean something. In Rebels, if you have a lightsaber, you're gonna die. Like, and I understand we're post the Empire, okay, but it still means something to have a lightsaber, to be able to use it.
Mm-hmm.
It meant something in The Force Awakens, in The Last Jedi, and even in the last movie. It meant something to have a lightsaber and be able to use it. This is just so bad that, again, one of the greatest lightsaber wielders is like, her scenes are so bad with her lightsabers, especially like these lightsabers. Like, I hope everybody who's watching this knows the story of how she got her lightsabers and why they are the way that they are. Like, I'm hoping that that's like, what everybody knows. But it just, again, how you said earlier, why is she only using one? Like, that's...
To be fair, what David was saying, there have been occasionally moments where she's been forced to use one, but very rarely does she ignite one for particularly a one-on-one lightsaber duel. Like, she very much, for the most part in the show, prefers to use...
If Darth Maul only used one side of his dual blade. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But okay.
So, I haven't addressed this part yet. I don't want to keep us here too long, but fuck, man, that ending. And I don't mean that in a good way. Yeah. In case people were like, I really don't mean that in a good way. I don't know what part enrages me more, what we saw or the reaction to it. Because all those things, all those reactions, when you watch this episode, it's like, I would respect it if these people would just admit the only reason they're jumping up and down was because of that last 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. The rest of this episode, I mean, marginally better than last week's episode. But even then, not really, because it has the exact same problems that hold it back at every turn. So I'm not giving it any points there. But then, David, you were like, what were you? You were, I wasn't sure initially what emotion was going through you when you were like, what the fuck is this in the world between worlds? And forgive me if this had already been discussed between the two of you, but earlier on post episode, I was just kind of like, what did I just see? And so I wasn't too attentive to what you were saying, but again, is it surprising that Hayden Christensen is here? No. Is it even surprising that we're seeing the world between worlds? No. Why? Because nothing is anymore. It's been a long time since we've passed that threshold of things being brought in to the live action space, characters coming back. Nothing at this point surprises us. And honestly, considering the movie that we ended up getting with The Rise of Skywalker, I would have preferred seeing the world between worlds have been brought into that movie just for it to have been something.
Yeah.
Anything other than what it ended up being. You know? Just something interesting, something entertaining. Even though, yeah, the world between worlds is is dangerous.
Remember when we thought all the characters, the past Jedi, were gonna come out, and all we heard was their voices?
So, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I feel like it could. What the two different possibilities that you two explained, it clearly is one of those. I don't know if this is a hallucination or vision, or if this is happening for reals. But yes, David, how the fuck did she get from point A to point B? I don't know. I don't think it even matters at this point, considering the show that we're watching. To be fair, the world between worlds is a construct that we know very little about. So knowing how Filoni operates, it very easily could be taken at face value that, because. And then insert the explanation there for why she ended up being in the world between worlds. Even though that's not how it was presented before in the past, we know that these people, Filoni himself included, are not above twisting things to being something that they weren't previously. So it's not like it would be a surprise. Okay, so she's there. And Anakin comes up, and it's Hayden Christensen. And as far as like what it means, it either means nothing or it means everything. Probably means nothing, though. Although, I don't know. I didn't... Again, I think I was seeing red, so I'm not even sure what was said. I know that they said hello, Snips. And did he say something else? Did he end up saying, like, it's that... I didn't expect to see you this soon. Is that what he said?
Something like that.
He said, I didn't expect to see you this soon. So... considering the dialogue, does that then, at least in my mind, it seems to suggest to me this is really Anakin.
I think so.
This is him.
Yeah.
And he's able to appear in I guess in this form because they're in literally the plane of the Force and everything. And here's that, and maybe, but again,
maybe it will mean something.
I didn't say it wouldn't. Maybe.
Yeah. But
here's the big but. Why? Moments like Ahsoka meeting Luke or Ahsoka being reunited with Anakin after he stopped being Darth Vader. I knew ultimately this was going to happen. We all did in our heart of hearts. And
yeah.
Because. And, you know, that in and of itself was part of what ended up fueling our fire, with what this ended up being versus what it was supposed to be, which was the animated form. And to think that we were going to get a sequence like this with the real Ahsoka, played by Ashley Eckstein, reunited with Anakin by Matt Lanter in animation.
That would have meant so much more.
That would have meant so much to me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And yet...
Because that's the relationship that we saw.
Yeah.
This whole, like, it transcends animation, live action, blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And this show is a big proof that it doesn't, because we should have felt something in this moment. And you can argue, it's the show itself, it's the writing, it's all these things, but it's not how we saw that relationship at all.
Not with these people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know what this is supposed. Like, again, it's also such a really weird place in the story for this to happen. This is the 4th episode. I'm not even sure from a story standpoint what this is supposed to do, what this is supposed to be.
And the fact that it's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
New.
There were some rumors that were going around. I don't know that again, they come from Randolph, and I don't know if I believe them, because that would be insane. And I shared this with you weeks ago about the idea that Ahsoka would get a chance to, quote unquote, save Anakin, whatever the fuck that even means, through the world between worlds.
Yeesh.
I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I know she might be in the world between worlds right now, but I really do think that's just her subconscious or something. And I also mentioned before, what would be Ahsoka's reaction to meeting him the first time. But also one thing I should have brought up is Anakin's reaction to meeting her. Like, is he gonna feel ashamed of himself for like everything that he did? Some part of him is gonna have to bring up Luke. He didn't
seem like he did. He just seemed like, "Hey, girl, what's up? How you been? It's been a while." And it's like, again, if you think about if you think about in your head the build up to what a reunion like this would look like from a character standpoint, I've always envisioned Anakin would just be so like teary-eyed and apologetic and just like ashamed of what he's done, even though he had redeemed himself at that point, and became one with the Force, but still this wasn't what
I also feel like it just wouldn't be like this. I always imagined it like she might be going towards the end of her life or something, and days before she's passing away, and then she finally like says out loud, it's like, I know you've been by my side this whole time, my guy.
Being at peace with everything.
Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like that's kind of like the only way she would want to talk to Anakin, because like part of her too is like pissed off that he turned out this way, and some part of her feels like it was her fault and all that, and she would be the one to call out to him as a Force ghost,
she's the older, wiser one.
Mm-hmm.
And right here it just feels like two friends catching up, and not in the way that it should be. It's just and earlier when I was saying that I saw a spoiler, obviously this is what it was.
Did you see an image, or it was just the word?
No, I saw somebody write. We got to see Ahsoka and Anakin in animation. Now we get them in live action. And people's reaction to this scene is, of course, "Oh my god, I can't believe it! It's incredible! Da 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 da. The snips part irked me. I hate that. And this was a cliffhanger. Nothing happened. It's just crazy. And again, I have this big gut feeling that absolutely nothing is gonna come of this. And you know why? Because, and I'll take it back to Obi-Wan, not even like the animation stuff, because we have where she finds out that he's Darth Vader, which was like a great scene because he's too far gone, but at the same time you do left you are left guessing, like, did he actually let her go? Like, was she like, did he leave her to die and then she somehow recuperated, like, but like with Obi-Wan, he was gonna kill him, and that was like Obi-Wan's moment of like, dang, like, I have to let go. So that was like that ending of their relationship, right? Here, I don't think that we're gonna get any of that. I don't think, and okay, let's say that it is her subconscious. It's not real.
No,
this meeting is not real.
No. Anakin is real, like in her subconscious, because we've seen that happen before. Yoda did that with Ezra in Rebels, but like he was even dead back then. Like he was able to like communicate with him through the Force and all. So like I'm pretty sure as a Force ghost they can do that too. And so that's I'm just saying, like, it's not the war between worlds. It's just she's in her subconscious, but like Anakin is communicating with her.
Okay.
David, by the way, for anybody who remembers, we have a person who's more of a ghost these days, Peter Martinez, who's associated with our group. You read what he put on the chat. What's he talking about? Did you read what he said in response to the image that I shared? Something about the Glup Shido allegations are true. I have to assume that's a typo of some sort. But then while you're looking at that, here's a classic example of the kind of reaction we have been used to since Mandalorian dropped, and this is in response to tonight. Ahsoka Episode 4 absolutely changes the game for Star Wars. I'm going to stop there. What does that mean? What do you mean? What is changed? What does that mean the game has changed? How is this anything different? What are you trying to say in your own like cryptic way that with the world between worlds here, it's going to open up new I don't know what you mean. Okay, he continues. One of the more thrilling episodes I've ever seen, with implications I can't even fathom. Wow. I'm absolutely, unequivocally, all the way in. Inject more into my veins now. This is what makes Star Wars so special. It may be time, kids, for us to have the same Star Wars conversation yet again, in that most people fundamentally do not understand what Star Wars is. If you watched this episode, first of all, that phrase, "this is what Star Wars is," has become such a blanket nonsense catch-all term. It's like woke. When people say go woke, not go. People will say that's woke. It's just like, it's a nothing term and you apply whatever you want to it. Mm-hmm. When you say this is what Star Wars is, I don't know what you mean. All it does is makes me think, oh, you must hate the original movies then, because that's not what those were. Like, this is not at all the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
This is what Star Wars is. again, it's and this
I
is
want I want to have a conversation with these people, and I want them to explain to me what is going on. Like, I want them to, in detail, tell me what everybody's motivations are.
and simultaneously demand explanations for why supposedly the game was not changed and how they weren't saying this is Star Wars with Andor and Last Jedi.
Mhm.
Two things which I think make reasonable arguments for changing the game.
Yeah.
Oh, and in case it wasn't clear, here for people who can't see, there, right there. Okay, so I didn't say what it was, but it's pretty obvious what I was talking about. And then speaking of better shows, and this could not, I don't even know where David even got an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. shirt. Did they sell that? What, they have merch of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. all of a sudden?
So
It's like
bad.
it was like Amazon. I mean, it sounds like I'm making a joke. I'm not. It's the truth. It's like, since when does that ever happen? But yeah, you're wearing a S.H.I.E.L.D. shirt. Both you and I, for people who, I don't know, look into the backgrounds, there's a S.H.I.E.L.D. poster behind us.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of just
probably, like,
better things,
shine
That
a
was a
light on it.
present, wasn't it?
Right there.
I
Agents of
gave
S.H.I.E.L.D.
him the poster. I don't know.
No, the shirt.
I
It
think
was a
I think
present.
he did give me the shirt too, actually.
I
No,
don't think it was
I
me.
think
It was Sergio.
Oh, Sergio probably.
Yeah, because he contacted me and asked me, like, hey, is there any S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff? And I'm like, no. So I sent him a link to an Amazon. I think it was from Amazon. They had that S.H.I.E.L.D. shirt. So now you know where that came from.
Yeah.
I mean, it's either that or a Funko Pop, which I believe you have, right?
Funko Pop?
Don't you have a Funko Pop? None of them?
No.
Okay, well, there's some. There's some that are. Yeah. I mean, there's some. I mean,
I like how
we've
Peter's
already-
not answering.
I know. He's probably asleep.
or dead.
Probably. I don't know. I feel like he might have been having a stroke when he sent this or something. Just it makes no sense.
He does tend to have those a lot.
Yeah. Let's see here. John DeLillo, who more often than not is somebody who I seem to agree with, especially with what Star Wars is. He was the one, I think, that had that really hilarious tweet from 2 weeks ago where he tweeted a picture of himself watching Ahsoka, but then the phone was in front of the screen watching Last Jedi, and he was watching the throne room scene from Last Jedi. So I think you remember that one, which is funny.
Yeah.
So he says this, no better example of the Star Wars snake eating its own tail than doing an emotional reunion for two characters originated by completely different people, now played by actors who have no shared screen history together. A copy of a copy of a copy. He continues, he continues by saying, what on earth does any of this mean to you if you're just a casual Star Wars fan who liked the Ahsoka episode of Mandalorian and decided to watch her spinoff? Also, why does it all look like it was shot in a dimly lit parking garage? And I think I don't think he was referencing specifically the Anakin stuff, although that's definitely there too. But he shared two screenshots of dialogue. Ahsoka says, better that than allowing Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire. And then Balon says, I know you felt that Ezra Bridger is the only family you have left. That's dialogue. And he is saying that how does anybody know what any of this even means?
Yep.
But since we're on that, I know you feel that Ezra Bridger is the only family. Oh, he said this. Okay. I was like, wait a minute. Why does he say that to Ahsoka? No, he said that to Sabine, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure there. What did Peter say? We're not looking at our phones to see what he said. He just responded. Okay. I can see it. So he says, it's because people claim that all Star Wars is now is some Star Wars character named an alien name like Glup Shido showing up and fans stand up and clap. So it's just a stand-in for like insert the name in here, and that's all it is. Which I would still think like the most egregious example of that was that unbelievable episode of Boba Fett where it was just a parade of cameos.
Yeah.
The episode that we first see Luke and Ahsoka just talk to each other, and then that same episode we also see the return of Cad Bane.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss Andor. I really, really miss Andor.
Star Wars animation. I keep rewatching the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars because I just need something.
Did you watch any of those video essays I sent? Or do you guys all just ignore them? Go back to our group chat, you, me, and David.
Okay.
And I literally sent amazing video essays that recap the 3 animated shows, Clone Wars, Rebels, and Bad Batch. I watched those, or I watched one of them again, and it gets the fix in. If you need a fix, watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than not better, but it's like it's the next best alternative than watching the show all over again, which you could do. But part of I guess I'll give Grace Randolph this. If you're gonna compare this to Game of Thrones, the only way. Now, I understand some of us feel differently about the last season of Game of Thrones, but I would say for me anyway, the last season of the show personally wasn't what I feel was the way it should have gone into in wrapping things up, and it makes rewatching all of the seasons before the fact seem kind of pointless. You know? Yes.
Dave Filoni is directing the next episode.
I saw that. I didn't want to mention it, but yeah. I noticed
So maybe we'll get something. Maybe.
Well, that might also be scary in and of itself.
Somebody wrote, introducing a new galaxy to Star Wars has me begging for them not to do a multiverse story with Anakin or anyone else if we ever got to it. And then somebody replied, that's not how space works. You really think that they wouldn't make it work like that? After everything we've seen, you really think that they wouldn't do something like that? I'm not saying that they are.
Someone else just tweeted, haven't mustered up the courage to dive in yet. Are they actually doing the World Between Worlds? Yeah, pretty annoying. Anything else that we feel we should say before we close today?
Nah.
We'll see what happens.
Somehow it just gets me scared.
I'm just annoyed. I don't think I'm scared. I feel like I am pretty convinced in what I think is gonna happen. And I'm just already annoyed.
Well, anyway, if you've stayed tuned this long, congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. I don't know. This is awful. This is dreadful. This is the worst. But we'll be back next week for episode 5 and everything. I mean, we have to now, right? Because
I know. We're already halfway through.
And especially with how it left us, we don't seem to have much of a choice. But anyway, thank you, Alexis. Thank you, David, for being here. Thank you all for whoever was watching this and commiserating with us. That's it. Stand our spotlight. We'll see you next time. Our podcast Sundays. Anywhere listen to podcasts. Bye.
Bye.